This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
The best of the morning X.
This is Tammy Oldham Ashcraft. Tammy has a book out called Red Sky in the Morning. She and her fiancé, Richard Sharp, were on a sailing trip a few years ago. Got caught up. Well, let's have her tell the gist of the story because I don't want to miss out any of the interesting details. Tammy?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Where were you and your fiancé sailing from, and which sea were you?
We were in the Pacific, and we were sailing from Tahiti to San Diego.
And when was this?
This happened actually in 1983.
Oh, it was that long ago?
Yeah, but it's taken me a number of years to get over the situation, and then the book took me 5 years to write.
Now, go ahead.
How long of a journey would that have been?
It would have been probably about 28 to 30 days.
Okay.
And what kind of craft were you sailing?
It was a 44-foot yacht.
And is that normally a big enough craft to make that kind of journey?
Oh, yes.
It is, okay. So it can normally handle those kind of waters.
Right, oh, definitely.
And at its choppiest, normally how high would waves be, in that kind of journey? Oh,
it really depends, but if you were to get into a storm, I'd say you probably could get into 6 to 8 footers and as far as waves, 6 to 8 foot waves, and maybe 35, 40 knots of wind if you were to hit some kind of a storm or squall. And you and Richard, obviously, I'm guessing, accomplished sailors. You knew what you were doing on the boat. You weren't, amateurs, because you both grew up around water, right? Right, that's right. So how far in did this start to turn sour? About 2 weeks into the delivery, we heard of a tropical depression that was brewing off the central coast of South America, and we kept our eye on that, and it gained in intensity and became a full-blown Category 4 hurricane.
Oh, my goodness.
Damn, and you're sitting out there.
And how far are you from the nearest landmass?
1,500 miles.
Aye!
Oh, my
1,500.
God. Jeez. All right, so you're tracking this, and obviously you're seeing it come closer and closer. Are you trying to outrun it?
Right. At the time, we were too far north of it to get down into the safe, navigable area of the hurricane. So we our whole tactic was to just get as far away from it as possible. And that's what we were doing when we got hit. And it was traveling at a speed at about 16 to 18 knots. And we could only go 9 knots really at the max. So it was really gaining on us quickly.
And when it hit you, can you describe what that scene was like?
Well, it hit us around noon.
The rain slowly started approaching, and then the winds picked up. And
the winds gradually kept picking up, yes. And then it actually, by the time that it really was at its intensity, we were in 140 knots of wind and 50-foot seas, about the size of a 5-story building.
Jeez.
And you couldn't even see the bow of the boat. There was so much spray being blown off the ocean that you couldn't even see the bow of the boat.
So what did you do at this point when the winds were that high? What could you do?
Well, we had nothing up. We were just what they call running under bare poles, and we had the engine on, and we were just holding on as best we could. We were coming up over these waves, a lot of times becoming airborne off the top of some of these seas, and then just crashing down the back sides of these large ocean breakers. You obviously knew it was dangerous. Did you think that, was there a point where you seriously thought we might not get out of this alive? Well, we actually felt, at least I know I felt, that we were handling the situation very well, and we were just kind of holding our own and waiting for the hurricane to go past us. And the seas were all coming out of the same direction. We felt like we had everything under control. And I don't know, at the time I think I just put my crisis hat on and just was bolting through it. And about 1 o'clock, Richard yelled over to me. He says, "There's no reason for both of us to be out here in the cockpit. Go below and keep an eye on the barometer and check how things are doing down there." So I did. I went down below, and we both were connected to the boat with our safety harness.
Mm-hmm.
And as I went below, I clipped my harness onto the table down below, and that's when I heard him scream, "Oh my God!" And then this huge whoomp against the side of the boat, and the whole boat completely capsized.
And you were inside?
I was inside.
So
Seems like you would have been in the most danger being down in there.
Well, I'm the one that survived.
Yeah.
And I was in danger. I had a lot of flying debris. My head was split wide open from flying debris.
And you're also attached. You're also hooked onto something, right?
Right. So I'm being thrown around the cabin on about a 7-foot tether.
So then you wake up days later?
Yeah, it was 27 hours later.
So what I'm not quite understanding is, if the boat capsized, and then I'm guessing obviously water rushing into the cabin, and you're tethered to it, how did you not drown?
And unconscious.
And unconscious, right?
I was fortunate enough to land on. We had a sea hammock, and it's a place where we slept at sea, and it was rigged like a hammock. And I fell on that hammock, after the boat righted itself, and that is what saved me from drowning.
Unbelievable.
I see. So the boat righted itself, and you woke up. Obviously, at that point, you didn't know what had happened to Richard. Tell us what it was like as you woke up.
When I woke up, the first thing I saw was sky through the overhead, where the mainmast had been ripped out of the boat, and there was a huge hole. And when I stood up, the boat was half sunk. I was over knee high in water inside the boat. Jeez. And as I crawled out into the cockpit, I saw his line still attached to the cleat in the cockpit, and it was hanging over the side of the boat. And of course, I immediately tugged on it, hoping he was on the other end, and he was not. And he was never found again. I never saw him again.
The line had been snapped.
You had to have been disoriented if you had a huge split down your head.
Oh, I was, yeah. In fact, when I first woke up, I didn't even know what had happened, who I was, if someone was with me. And as I started looking around and getting more acquainted with what was going on, that's when things started hitting me more. And then when I didn't find him, when he was gone, I just freaked out.
Did you go into shock?
Oh, totally, yeah. I went into shock. I just stood up and screamed and searched for him for what seemed like hours,
right,
with binoculars and yelling and running around the boat. And then my body just shut down, and I inflated the life raft just in case the boat was sinking underneath me. And I lashed the life raft on deck, and I just curled up in the life raft in fetal position and just shut down. I couldn't take any more. Did
you stay in the life raft attached to the boat, or did you disconnect yourself from the? No, I didn't. No, you never. This little voice always says, "Stay with the boat. Stay with the boat." You never want to get in one of those life rafts unless you absolutely necessarily have to. Did you have any food left over from the boat?
Well, a lot of my food was ruined, but I did have canned food, and it was always a gamble what I was going to have for dinner because all the labels came off the cans.
Right.
But, I had food, and my major concern was water, of course, and after about 2.5 weeks into being totally desperate for water, I ended up finding that I had 25 gallons on board in the water tank.
Now, wait a minute. So you had no water for how long?
I had 3 cans of life raft water, and then I had a manual pump in the galley, but I didn't know exactly how much water I had on board. So I tore the boat apart, got into the tank, and I found that I had 25 gallons, which was a huge turning point for me then. I knew then at that point that I was going to be able to make it, and because I was seeing progress on the chart at that point. What I did was I jury-rigged what is called a spinnaker pole, and I had 9 feet of a spinnaker pole left after everything was ripped off the deck. And this 9 feet of pole, I was able to rig that pole, and I had put my last sail on it, a small little storm jib.
Right, a spinnaker is a big sail.
Yeah, but
right,
this is a little tiny sail.
Yeah.
And a storm jib, and I sailed 1,500 miles to Hawaii on that rig.
There's more to the story. This bit resumes after a brief intermission. More Best of the Morning X is coming up next on 99X.
Bravo TV star Lala Kent holds nothing back on the Give Them Lala podcast.
It's very a lot.
You want the headline.
Here is my interview with Vicky Gunvalson. Who did the biggest number on you?
I'm not friends with Tamara anymore, which is fine.
Do you feel like you guys can repair?
No.
Stick to what you know.
Iconic.
Absolutely fantastic. It is like the Super Bowl every episode.
Give Them Lala.
Unhinged, but also amazing TV.
Get ready.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.